up? How's it going?
Never left the building.
Okay, well, I guess you'll just be here.
Upstairs though.
Okay, nice. Test. Oh, that's
I guess
perfect.
you're streaming, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's almost real time. Okay. In that case, where did I put that? Yeah, I don't know. I would throw it off there, but I don't think there's really a point. There's not enough people. I don't know, I guess you can watch on the stream. I don't know. I'll I'll try and
I think once I'll wait. Yeah.
welcome.
Are you presenting?
We're currently streaming live. Yes.
But you're the
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I don't want to throw it up on the screen because I have things set up here now. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't think there was going to be anyone that showed up in person just because.
I can open it.
Yeah.
Just listen.
I mean,
You don't have to worry.
yeah, go for it. I just say like keep it muted because like otherwise it's gonna create nice little
Yeah.
feedback loop. Oh yeah, yeah. Man, it's cold today. Hey.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, we could leave, but
Yeah. Yes, indeed, it does feel like minus 37. So we have 7 viewers currently. This is excellent. If everyone can just hold on for a second here and we'll get the stream started. We just have a couple things to take care of right off the bat, and then we'll launch into the presentation. Today is just going to be an introduction into Linux and a bit about Linux, what it is, and then getting used to a terminal. We will have some kind of practice challenges. We're thinking that maybe later on here in the Discord server, people can kind of form groups or pairs and then work on challenges together. That way you have someone to learn with, and you're not just kind of struggling on your own type of thing. Or if you prefer working alone, you can do that too. Yeah, we are streaming. I was just gonna get things set up here. I have to transfer the presentation over to my VM. Two. It's unfortunate that it's so cold today. Right.
not like a fancy one. We'll go down it. The wall on the door is metal. It was frozen on one side. It was all frosted and iced. Like what? Waking up the cold mornings in Northern Brunswick and the inside of your car adapt. Like where your speedometer is. Probably should have been saying those passwords and move on. Regret? Probably should have been passwords and move on. People want them also eventually.
All right, everyone. Just waiting for my VM to boot up here. But in the meantime, we'll get started here. So thank you everyone for joining. I think we have something like only 7 people watching right now, but that's fine. The stream is going to be recorded and then eventually put up on YouTube, just so that we have a kind of a record of the meetings, and then people can refer back to them if they missed something or they want to revise a concept. Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, just when I first started the stream. We are going to be looking at, what Linux is and then working in a terminal environment today. I have a quick little presentation that I will just switch over and put onto the screen here soon, so we can all follow along. It's going to introduce the basics of working in a terminal, Linux commands. I'm going to have some live demos, and then hopefully here we're going to be able to break out into sort of groups in the Discord server, and people can work together on the challenges that we have set up. It's just over the wires bandit. And hopefully people can pair up and work together. That way you don't have to learn or struggle alone. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see where it goes from there. You can always just put things either in the Discord or in the Twitch chat, and I should be able to see them here. They most likely will pop up on the screen as well. So I don't know, keep it safe for work, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Just one moment here, folks. I'm just gonna quickly switch over to my VM. Did I copy over the wrong one? I think I did. Yes, I did. Oops.
You verified your audience work?
Yeah, I did. Triple checked. Okay. I'm just gonna switch this over. All right. Can everyone see? Oh, perfect. My VM's up on screen. We can all see that. Feel free to start talking in the chat. It'll pop up in the kind of left-hand corner here. Although I might actually just quickly change that so people can see there. All right, let's get started here. Is there no present function? Interesting. Sorry?
Probably in you.
Oh yeah, it could be. I'll just last time I just opened it up in Firefox and then we went from there. All right. So yeah, the only requirement today is that you have some sort of Linux terminal or environment available to you. If you don't, that's okay. The stream's recorded. You can always just go ahead and watch it later. Once you have things set up, feel free to just pop a question in the Discord or into the chat here, and I'll do my best to answer. Yeah, that's weird. There we go. Yep, and just in case anyone missed it there, in the Discord, Rohit just said that if you have any difficulties setting up, your VM, or if you haven't set one up, you can message him and he'll help. All right, I'm just gonna quickly check. Just had to plug my mouse in. All right, and without further ado here, let's get going. So this is our introduction to the Linux command line. It's just a quick overview of getting started with Linux and working in a terminal environment. This is a presentation I just kind of made last minute here, so hopefully, it works out. So let's start off with what is Linux. So Linux, most people call it an operating system. However, it's actually an operating system kernel. You don't need to worry about what a kernel is right now, other than it's just the underlying piece of an operating system that kind of controls lots of its functionality. Linux was first released on September 17th, 1991 by Linus Torvalds. He is the founder and creator of Linux. He maintained it for a very long time, and I believe he still does to this day. It was made as an alternative to Microsoft's Windows, as at the time, Windows was not open source. It was free. It wasn't free. And they were charging, I think, like an arm and a leg for it. It was like a couple $100 to get a license for Windows. In some cases, it still is. Like I think Windows Professional is something like 100, or it's over $100 still. Um, Most people just think Windows is free because you can download the Home Edition. However, it's only got so many features, and that's kind of the selling point for getting the Pro Edition. Or even I think with most companies, you can't use the Home Edition. You have to buy like a commercial license or a business license, some sort of enterprise. They also have different editions for like servers and whatnot. So yeah, so Linus was quite fed up at the time with the fact that everything was closed source and there was no free open alternatives where anyone could contribute or add on. And it was really hard to build things at the time because there was no documentation or anything like that. So we're gonna just quickly talk about what is a terminal. Um, so with Linux, when it first started out, there wasn't really too many graphical elements like there are on Windows. The whole desktop is kind of still newer to Linux. It's a concept that's constantly being worked on. It's now, there's many different type of environment or desktop managers, as they're called, that kind of fight for superiority. But when things originally started out, there was just, kind of text-based console access. There was no graphical user interface like Windows. So that means there's no buttons, no interactive elements. What a terminal is, though, is it's a text-based interface. You will commonly hear it referenced as kind of like a command line interface. It's the same thing, and it's our way of interfacing with the system. We execute what are called commands to interact with the system and kind of manipulate or modify information or data. So just a quick example here. Up here in the top left-hand corner, if anyone can see my cursor, I'm going to just open it. My terminal will pop open in here in a second, and I'll zoom in. Oops. Shift plus. There. I think that's nice and big. Everyone can maybe see it on screen. Um, so this is a terminal environment. It's categorized by, you'll see kind of here, it says Kali and then the @ symbol, although it's been customized here with I think a K, Kali at Kali. So this is what's called the host name and then your username. So this would say like root at Kali if I was the root user. We'll talk about the different users that exist on a system or on a Linux system here in a bit. And then we have this kind of weird little prompt here. So this prompt, this $sign, that is essentially just kind of your sign that you have an interactive prompt. There's these things called shells. Shells are what we use to interface through this terminal with the system. There's plenty that exist. I think they're all in /bin. If I go and list here, there's gonna be a ton of files. But then I think I can pipe that over to grep. So we have ZSH, which is a common shell. Then we also have SH. Oh, that was my mistake. I should have guessed there's going to be a lot of things that start with SH. But so bin/sh, that's another kind of shell. And we can actually just take a quick look here at what SH is. So hopefully you can all see here pretty clearly. It says, SH is a command interpreter, otherwise known as a shell. So this is how, in our terminal, we can execute commands or just kind of process information. This is how we control things without necessarily needing, the graphical elements. There's tons of others that exist. I think SH was the first to ever exist, and then from there we had it's called Bash, which I think stands for Born Again Shell. Yeah. So this was kind of the more standard and popularized version. It's still maintained today, as you can see by the whole copyright there of 2022. I think that needs to be updated, but oh well. It's an you can see here in the description that Bash is a SH compatible command language interpreter that executes commands read from the standard input or from a file. So yeah, I think we've covered kind of the whole idea of a terminal now, and we're going to move on to commands. So what is a command? A command is what you would use to tell your system, hey, do X, Y, Z. So if I wanted to list all files, for example, oh, and just a quick reminder, I put in the Discord in the resources channel, there's a Linux command line cheat sheet, just so everyone can, kind of have a reference guide in case, you forget. I also highly recommend Googling things or using it's called the man command. It brings up like the manual or the help page for whatever command it is you're trying to understand or kind of look up. But a command is a way to interface with your system and tell it what to do. So if I were to type clear, that one sounds, kind of pretty obvious. If I hit clear, clears the screen. So if I had a bunch of stuff here, we can just hit enter a bunch of times and bring up new prompts. If I type clear, it clears the screen. Pretty straightforward. Another example would be a command called ls, which stands for list. If I just type that, I just realized I'm in my /bin directory, so I'll just go to / instead, so there's not as much stuff. If I just type ls, we're going to see, the current listing of files in this directory. So in the root directory here. You can think of ls as the equivalent to, your file manager or file explorer, on Windows. And, it's that, but just not graphical. Uh, you it displays the current files that are in that directory, and there's options you can do with it. So if we go ahead and take a look at the manual page for it here, so man ls, it says list directory contents here, list directory contents up here in the name, and we can see it's got a whole bunch of different options, kind of as we scroll down throughout here. So we'll touch on, what all these flags and kind of arguments or parameters here do in a second. But I think we kind of have a good foundation for, what a command is and the importance of it. And, it's a way to interface with your system. So back to the presentation here just quickly. Let's take a look at a Linux command here. For example, the remove command. We have, the first part of the command, which is the actual command itself or the binary that we're running. So in this case, rm stands for remove. This is the equivalent of like del on Windows if you're trying to delete a file, if you're in command prompt. Then we have some sort of parameter or argument here. In Linux, they're actually called options, or at least all the documentation for it will call them options. However, I've always known them as parameter or arguments. And then in this case, you have sort of your input files or whatever data you're trying to pass to the command. So here, I think we can just go over this quickly. So we have remove and then -rf. We'll explain what that does in a second, as our parameter or kind of flag, and then our specified directory. So this is our input file. So what we can kind of gather, just from looking at this, is this saying, okay, remove whatever that does, and then my files, or the directory my files. So you know what? Let's go and take a look at the remove command here. So if we go and do man remove, we're going to see, okay, remove files or directories. We can see, oh, right there down towards the bottom here, kind of, that -f is force. So it ignores non-existent files and arguments, never prompts, it won't warn you, hey, like something's wrong. And we also, we saw an R in there. So if we scroll down, just using the arrow keys, that's another thing to note about Linux is sometimes, you won't be able to use, the mouse wheel. You have to use the arrow keys. That kind of plays into the whole non-graphical elements, and, using your keyboard or just the resources you have. But as we can see down here, we see, oh, -r. Recursive. So remove directories and their contents recursively. So that kind of gives us a way better picture now of what's happening here in this command. We can say, okay, this is removing. We saw those two arguments were remove forcefully and then recursively. So this would be saying, okay, remove this directory, but then also remove all the contents that exist underneath it. Hopefully that's clear to anyone. If you have you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to just pop them into the chat or into the Discord. And I'll be happy to try and quickly answer them. I am just watching it here. I think we're doing all right. Haven't seen any questions yet, so that's good. So let's go into, how do you learn about the different commands that are available on Linux? So once again, there's the man pages, as it's called. So you can just use the syntax that I kind of highlighted, where you have man and then the command you're kind of looking into. You can also Google things, which I highly recommend. It's your best friend in most of these cases, especially if you're doing a CTF or you're launched into an environment that you're not familiar with. It's part of the learning process to look things up. There's no point in kind of senselessly struggling and staying in the dark. So thankfully, there's like thousands and thousands of pages of documentation online. So you could just Google like, hey, in Linux, how would I sort a list of files or recursively search a directory for a certain file or a certain string or something like that. And then again, just in the resources channel in the Discord, I left a file called Linux Cheat Sheet. I think it's a PDF. And it just has a list of a whole bunch of useful commands and their descriptions. So I highly recommend just checking that out. It's probably going to be helpful to have on hand as you go throughout Bandit and sort of over the wire the different games that we have. Yeah, and so that's it for the presentation. And I was hoping now that if anyone's present on the stream, if you can also just head over to the Discord quickly, and we'll try and pair you up, or maybe we'll start some pairs, or if it works better for everyone else, I can just start doing Bandit on my screen here if you want to follow along, and we can kind of do like an interactive session. Although I was kind of hoping we could just put people into groups or something, and then you have a partner or someone to learn with at least. I don't know. You guys can vote for it, or just speak up as to what you want. Yeah, just pop it in the chat, I guess. Does Twitch have polls? That's a very good question. Does anyone know that? Polls.
I think it's shocked.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so I see that people are saying it does have a poll. All right, excellent. I don't know. Maybe I could go toss one in like the Discord, I guess, because I don't know how to do that on Twitch. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very new to Twitch. Yeah, I could mod you. Yeah, I know this is exciting. I'm getting my first mods here. Oh yeah, we just got a new follower.
I mean, it's me. Well, you could just you gotta be partnered.
Oh, you have to be partnered or an affiliate. I see. So that's not us. We are not at an affiliate level yet. Exactly, yet. It could happen. So, yeah, I guess I'll just put that in the chat here. Head over to the Discord, and maybe our president, Grace, or someone else, like one of the admins, can just pop it into the Discord, create a poll really quickly saying, like, hey, do you want to follow along here or like an interactive session with me, or do you want to break into groups and, you know, work with someone else kind of individual, or not individually, but just someone kind of one-on-one, and you can get things going. All right. So we'll just kind of meet back in a few minutes here. I'm still going to be here. Just you can always message in the chat on either Twitch or Discord, and I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know what the results are once we finish the polling here. All right. So it looks like the majority have voted for an interactive session. I agree. Thank you, Cantaloupe, for kind of putting that out there in the Discord. A partner. I think you're right. A partner would be excellent in person, or maybe even just like a bigger group in person. So that way you kind of have a collective to bounce ideas off of. But definitely for this, just due to the circumstances today, I think an interactive session is probably the best option. All right. So in that case, I hope everyone has access to a terminal and your Linux environment set up. If not, still feel free to follow along. You don't necessarily need a VM. You could use something like a Windows subsystem for Linux. You can Google that around too, especially if you don't have a super powerful laptop. It's an excellent alternative. But yeah, we'll get started here. Hopefully, everyone's able to follow along. All right. So the first thing you want to do is head over to overthewire.org. I am going to just enlarge my text as I realize, streaming, it looks fine to me on my screen just because, it's a laptop or it's a smaller screen. However, I have things enlarged just so it's easier to read on the stream, or if you're on your phone or something. So Over the Wire provides what are called war games, and essentially, they're just challenges that are designed to help you learn and practice security concepts in the form of kind of like a game. It's sort of like a quest almost. If you're familiar with games like that, or if you play video games, you may be familiar with the concept of just like some sort of conquest format where, to get to the next level or to the next section and advance in the game, you have to complete a certain part first, which I guess is pretty standard. You could think of it as like Super Mario Brothers, for example. The game we are going to be tackling today is called Bandit. So Bandit is designed for absolute beginners, as you can see here in the kind of description for it. It's designed to really get you familiar with just kind of general security concepts, and then mostly just being familiar with the Linux terminal environment and working with a Linux system. So you can see down here in the notes for beginners, this game's organized in levels, and you're going to encounter a ton of different situations where you may not have any idea what you're supposed to do. That's okay. That's part of the learning curve, and it's the purpose of the game. Like, it's to help you learn the basics. So you have to be used to learning new information, and just really having that kind of creative edge to go out and solve this puzzle. So, without a doubt, they do provide here a link. I think I showed this in the last session, Introduction to User Commands. It's like the same thing as the PDF I have. And they recommend, as we went over, using the man command to understand. If there is no man page, I didn't go over this, but you can also use its command that's called help. I don't know if that's on most systems. I can't remember. But lastly, here, just as it says, your favorite search engine is your friend. Learn to Google. Google is your best friend. I'll say that over and over again. It's just you have these resources available to you, so I highly recommend that you use them. It wouldn't make sense not to. All right, so we can go and start with level 0, as we kind of did in the last session. The biggest thing you want to have, is your terminal now, and we're going to go over the SSH command. I'm not sure if we went over it in the last session. I think I might have just said like, hey, this is SSH. These are the parameters I'm going to use to log in. You don't know what a Linux command is yet, but don't worry. That's not the case now. You have a bit of background information from that presentation. And you can see here, they'll do this for a couple, or for most of the levels. They'll say, hey, these are some commands you'll need to solve the level, and then helpful reading material in case you get stuck or you just want to read a bit before, kind of diving head on if that's, not your thing. So you can see here we have secure shell SSH on Wikipedia, and then how to use SSH on WikiHow. So before we get started and try and log in, let's just go read that. Never hurts to know what you're getting into before you just dive in head first, and then might spend more time kind of playing around trying to figure out what's going on. So yeah. So this is if you're connecting on Windows. We can ignore that, and then we'll just look at the basics here. I think there's a yes, excellent. So learning the basic commands here, you can see we have just a nice little graphic about, okay, here's someone at a shell, and they did SSH wiki at shell.cjb.net. And then you can see it prompted them for a password for the user wiki on that remote host, and then they were able to join. The reason you don't see anything after it says password is just because of the way things are designed. The developers made it so that when you're typing, someone couldn't look over your shoulder and just see the input that you're typing in if it's like something sensitive. So in this case, a password. So okay, we kind of have an idea now on how to connect. We see the format is user and then at the host, and then you'll be prompted for a password. So also, if I'm moving too fast, just let me know, and I'll try and slow down or address any concerns anyone has. So let's go to level 0 here. So it says the goal of this level is for you to log into the game using SSH. You need to connect to bandit.labs.overthewire.org on port 2220. The username is bandit0 and the password is bandit0. So great, they've already given us the information on how to log in. So if I go over to my terminal and type SSH, I already have it saved from last time, but I'll just type it out anyways. SSH bandit0. So this is my username for that level. Bandit0 at bandit.labs.overthewire.org, and then -p 2220. So the -p, you can kind of guess based on what it told us down here in the description for the level. It said you have to log into that specific port, so 2220. -p, good assumption, it stands for port. We'll get into what ports are and then what this address is later on in a future session when we go over networking concepts. But for now, you can just hit enter. And if it's your first time connecting, it might say like, oh, the authenticity of this host can't be verified. Do you trust it? You're going to want to type yes. And then it'll give you a prompt like this that says, hey, enter the password. So it won't show up here on screen, but we know that the password was bandit0. So great, it worked. And now you can see that I'm logged in. Now we can go, now that we're logged in, we can go, okay, great. We've just completed level 0. Let's go to level 1. Like, how do we do that? It says the password to get to level 1 is stored in a file called readme located in the home directory. Use this password to log into Bandit 1 using SSH. So something to know about this game is to advance to the next level, the username is always just going to increment by 1. So level 1 is Bandit 1, level 2 is Bandit 2, etc. So whenever you find a password for a level, use SSH and just log into that level and continue the game. So an important thing to remember, though, is to always exit your shell, log out of SSH once you do have the password for the next level, as you can't keep SSHing in from inside the machine. You're already on it. You just need to log in as a different user. So if we go back here, we see it says commands you may need to solve this level. ls, which makes sense. We need to list the directory we're in. cd, if we need to change directories. cat, which we kind of went over. in the last session that, echoes the contents of a file. But just in case we didn't know that, we can either click on those links that it gave us for the different commands we might need so we can read about them, or we can just kind of mess around. So ls, let's see what's in the current directory with us. We see, okay, there is that file readme. Just in case we aren't familiar with cat, okay, so now that we see this file here, like how are we going to read it? So we saw that there's a command called cat. We can go and take a look at that. So it says cat, concatenate files and print on the standard output. It says the input for it, or the synopsis of the command is literally you just pass it a file and it'll print it out unless you tell it to do otherwise. So awesome. We could just do, in that case, cat readme. Hopefully that'll give us the password for the next level. Sure enough, it does. So we can go ahead and copy that, and then log into the next level. So I can type exit now, or another thing you can do is press Control D to log out. I accidentally just did that there in my main shell, and as you can see, it killed it. Oops. All right, so now we can go and log in. One thing to remember is when you're in the terminal, you can also iterate and go over the previous commands you ran by using the arrow keys. So the up arrow, if you press that a couple times, that'll cycle through the most recent commands. In this case, you can see the SSH command here. I can't just hit enter again because I need to change the username. So I can go ahead and use the arrow keys to navigate back and forth. Left and right arrow keys move me across the text that I currently have selected. So I can type bandit1 at bandit.labs.overthewire.org. And now I can enter the password that I just got from that previous level. So I can go ahead and paste that in either using, right click and then paste clipboard and hitting enter. Or you can also press, I think it's Control Shift V, that pastes it. Yeah. So before we just, start diving in here, an important thing to do, let's read the next level before we just start kind of messing around with things blindly. So it tells us, okay, the password for the next level is stored in a file called dash, and it's located in the home directory. So before we go ahead and start, trying to read that file, let's just talk about what a home directory is. If I go ahead and just type print working directory here, we see we're in home/bandit1. That's the equivalent of on Windows if you were to go into C/users. It's essentially, kind of where the contents of your account on that system are stored. So if I were to do ls-la, you should see something like, normally on your actual system, I'll just show you. If on my machine here, if I just do ls, or I can do print working directory, show you I'm in my home directory, and then do ls, you'll see I've got a bunch of folders like desktop documents, downloads, music, pictures, etc. Same thing as Windows. On Linux, it's a bit different. There's not necessarily a requirement to have, a desktop and anything else because you can work from that kind of console environment or terminal environment here. So we can see at the very top here, when we ran ls, we saw a file here just called dash. So if we just try and do cat dash, we get, oh no, our terminal's hung. It's it must have tried and interpreted that as a just as like a flag, except we didn't specify anything after, so it's waiting for further input. If you ever get stuck in a situation like this where your terminal's just kind of hanging or you're caught waiting for input because you mistyped something, you can just press Control C. So Control C is very handy. It kills the current command or process that's running and returns you back to your shell. So if you ever get hung up or you're stuck, you can just do that and it'll kill things. Yeah, so with this, I just want to, before we proceed, I want to see if there's anyone has any thoughts about how we could read this file, because we can see the traditional way of just typing cat, won't work. You can see that they provided some helpful reading material for dashed file name. So if everyone can go ahead and just read that, and then maybe paste in the Twitch chat or in Discord, potential solutions on how you can read the file. Don't directly Google for a write-up for this challenge. It kind of defeats the purpose of learning or trying it on your own. So I'll just give everyone a moment here to try and come up with ideas on ways we can read that file. All right, sorry for the delay there. It would appear, okay, we have a couple, suggestions. We have slash, but another way we can, kind of look at Linux commands is if we go and actually read the helpful reading material here and how to read a dashed file name or how to work with a dashed file name, we'll see that you can do something like specify. I think I can already see it here in this article. Oh, that's super, super small. All right. Oh, sorry. My page froze for a second there. So yeah, we just saw. Darn you, Stack Overflow. I forgot you started asking about cookies. Anyways, you can kind of see here it's cut off, but we also just saw in the Discord that Anna suggested that we could use /. And so what that does is if we go back over to our terminal here, if we do /, that tells the terminal or the shell that, hey, we want to work directly in the directory. We want to work exactly where we are. We want to use an absolute kind of path or an absolute path to the file. So it wouldn't be interpreting it as, oh, hey, like there's some sort of parameter. No, this is like the absolute path to the file. So it'd be telling the command, hey, I want you to actually look for a file called just dash, or like the minus sign. Another way you can do it is by doing what's called specifying an absolute path using quotation marks. So you can see here I could do this. Oh, actually, I forgot you can't do that with cat. That was a good catch there. Normally, you can specify an absolute path like that, but in this case, // is the best option. This tells, you can see here, the dot actually represents this directory up in the listing we have here. And you can do // or cat // that tells it to look for a file literally called the minus sign in this directory, and lo and behold, we have the password for the next level. So we can go ahead and copy that. We'll log out, go ahead and change over to the next user, bandit2, and we'll move on from there. All right, so we can go back to our Stack Overflow. No, thank you. So we can go and look at level 2 to 3. So it says the password for the next level is stored in a file called spaces. Spaces in this file name, and it's located in the home directory. So go ahead and look. Okay, cool. There's something called spaces in this file name. Immediately, it might be obvious to some of you that you can't just do cat and then spaces in. I spelled spaces wrong, but it wouldn't matter anyway. Spaces in this file name. And this kind of might seem obvious to some of you, but just in case it isn't, what this would be telling the cat command to do is look for 4 separate files, one called spaces, one called in, one called this, and one called file name. So a way we can get around that is by using quotation marks and then the combination of that // that we saw earlier, or you can also do a backslash like this. This is what's called an escape character. We'll read about this in just a moment. So this would tell kind of at a high level here, just this tells the terminal, like, hey, there's intended to be spaces here, and I want you to consider this all as one type of string. So you can see if I hit enter, great, we get the password for the next level. But before I move on, I just want to go and look at the spaces in file name. Also, Steven, sorry, I realized I forgot to mod you.
Oh.
Right. Oh, it loaded. I just didn't look at it. So it says, we can see here, spaces are allowed in long file names or path, and they can be up to 255 characters with Windows. So we can ignore that. We see, oh, here, this is what we want, dealing with spaces and file names in Linux. All right. So we can see here, we've got a nice little blog post on a website called the Linux Handbook. I'm just going to zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see. So you can see it says, the one thing you'll notice with the Linux files is that, they don't normally contain like spaces. We often use like some sort of separator, like a minus sign or a dash or an underscore. So it's rare that if we come across something like that, we want to be able to know how to handle it. So if we scroll down here, we can see we can escape these spaces with a backslash. And the way that works is there are these special kind of characters set up in your terminal environment called escape characters, because there are certain letters or characters on your keyboard that you can type in that normally have a different interpretation with the terminal. So if I go ahead, just as an example, if I go over here and I were to type, I think it's just a slash. Oops. Actually, I think I can just type a backslash. Yeah, you can see. So just a normal backslash brings up this weird little prompt because it's expecting more input or to escape some sort of character. I can just control C that. If I just type like it's called, I think, a tilde, or I can't remember what that kind of reverse quote is. If I type that, it'll say the same thing. That's also another escape character. If I do, oh, that's the tilde. That's what that is. That'll says, hey, oh, that's a directory, um, stuff like that. I think even a dollar sign, it's the same thing. It's going to say, hey, command not found. We would use this normally if we were trying to like echo sort of environment variables. Um, but now that we kind of have a better understanding of that, we'll move on to the next level. Once again, if you have any questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask. There's people here that are willing and readily available to help you. You can also Google around for things. So we'll log out of Bandit here and proceed to the next level by changing it to level 3. Oh no, why is this hanging? I don't like that. Oh dear. That's weird. My internet okay? Did I do something wrong? Oh dear. All right, let's go take a look. Can I ping? Actually, I think the university has ping disabled, but we'll see. Oh no, we have an internet connection. Hopefully, we haven't set off any red flags with UNB's Security Operations Center, and for some reason, they're cracking down on us now for all this outbound SSH traffic. But I hope not. We'll see. Bandit.labs. Okay, there we go. It was all in my head, folks. I don't know what to say. Temporary blip there. All right, so we're into the next level. Once again, you don't want to dive in without knowing what it's about. So let's go back over here and let's read what does it take to get to the next level. Wow, rest in peace, my internet connection. I am not fully sure why things are dying. There we go. All right, level 3 to level 4. So, yeah, okay. Is it 5 minutes? All right. So just a heads up, uh, due to some, the weather and the circumstances here, I'll have to end the stream a bit early. However, I very much encourage people to head over to the Discord. Like I'm probably going to stream here just in the next kind of minutes after we solve this level. And I highly encourage people to, maybe hop on a Discord call within the server and just keep doing the levels with, whoever's there. Make some new friends. Maybe find a mentor. If someone's knowledgeable or knows a bit more than you, never hurts to have someone to learn from. It's always great to have a teacher. Highly recommend that you just you continue on with this on this cold Friday night. I don't think too many people are heading out. If you've got no plans, this is a perfect way to spend your evening. So it says, okay, the password for the next level is stored in a hidden file in the directory or in the in here directory. So let's quickly go take a look and see what do we have. Okay, we have a directory called in here. Let's go inside that using the cd command. That stands for change directory. We type ls to see what's there. Oh, we're met with nothing. However, we can do ls-la. I'll explain what this does in a second, and this lists all the contents of the directory. We can say, oh, there's a .hidden file. So just a quick thing to note with Linux, and the way the file system is set up, if you append something with a dot, so if the beginning of the file starts with a dot, that typically means it's a hidden file, and it's not meant to just show up if you're to just list all the current files in that directory. So we can go back over to the website, and you can look at the man page for ls and see what those two options do. If I do man ls, we can see A says all, so do not ignore the entries that start with dot. That'll kind of hide everything. And then I think L is just the way it's formatted. Let's see here. L, so yeah, use a long listing format. So ls-la, very common command. Have it memorized because it'll show everything that's in the directory in a nice kind of format. So now we can do cat.hidden. Another useful feature with Linux is you can press tab and that'll auto-complete things for you. It's available on most systems. So if you press tab, it'll auto-complete the command. So we can do cat.hidden and yay, we have the password for the next level. Awesome. We can, unfortunately, I have to end things here, but I highly encourage people to, hop into the Discord and just keep going, meet some new people, make some friends, and just, mess around, have some fun, learn something tonight. Thank you so much for everyone who's attended, all, I think, 20 people that showed up on the stream. Great interaction we have tonight. And I look forward to seeing everyone next Friday. In the meantime, we also have DICE CTF going on right now. So if that's something you're interested in as well, if you want to try and participate in your first ever CTF this evening, this is your opportunity. Message in the Discord. We've put out some announcements about it before. I think there's a link in one of the channels to join our team so that you can mess around, get started, and kind of see what your first CTF would be all about, or what the CTFs are all about in general. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone who joined, and we'll see you next Friday.
I don't know if anyone's there with Matt, but thanks so much. And yeah, so in the competitions, so